Imam Malik Shabazz was once asked why he became Muslim, and he said, and when I read this quote I was very struck by it, he said that my people came from Africa, and he said if we were always told that they were ignorant people there, but if you go back you'll find that many of the people that came here were Muslims. Their religion was Islam, and they had great civilizations in Africa. And Malcolm said that in the early 60s, when there was actually almost no work had been done on the Muslim presence in this country, over 500 years, and there's actually some research that indicates that there was pre-Columbian Islamic presence. It's not as solid, but it's an area of research. It's not as solid as the research that that has proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that large segments of African Muslims were brought here as slaves, and they set up Quran schools, and they attempted to maintain their religion in spite of a society that was stripping them not only of their religion but of their dignity, of their clothes, of everything. One of the important touchstones for me growing up was a television series called Roots, which occurred in the 70s. And people don't know that was because of Malcolm. That he said when he told Alex Haley, you know, that we were Muslims. And Alex Haley took that seriously, and he started researching and found out it was true. Well, Michener, who wrote Hawaii and other books, he read the work of Alex Haley and said, that's a load of rubbish. And he wrote an article in the Reader's Digest saying that that's just fantasy. That's Malcolm X's fantasy. There weren't any Muslims here. Well, Alan Austin read that article. And Alan Austin spent the next several years of his life writing an 800-page academic documentation of the presence of several million Muslims in this country. I mean, this is something phenomenal if you think of that. That's all from this one man. And if you look, like Imam Zayd pointed out, his mother, his father, his environment, all of those extraordinary elements that came together to make that man. His daughter, one of the things that she said about Malcolm, she said, we saw a side of him in the home that a lot of people did not ever see. She said he was a gentle soul in the house, and he didn't teach us anything that would inculcate anger or hatred in our hearts. She said he never taught anything like that to his children. And so when you look at him and his transformation, the power to me in Malcolm is that, rahimahullah, is that he was on a spiritual path from day one. And he was evolving. And he was somebody who was big enough to jettison whatever he was carrying when he recognized it was no longer necessary to carry it. Everything in his life, as far as I'm concerned, was a necessary event. Because a man's life is the aggregate of the moments that make up his life. The fact that he became a criminal was necessary to understand something about the conditions of oppressed people and the alternatives that oppressed people have. And if you look, so many of these influences came together in his life, this man, Malik Shabazz. Entering into the Nation of Islam was necessary phase for him because he had to break something in himself. And what he was breaking was what Ibn Khaldun says happens to oppressed people, which is indolence, which is trickery, which is attempts to escape responsibility, because that has been removed from them. Like Imam Zayd said, if somebody's always, every time you get into the race, there's a foot there to trip you, it's very difficult to stay in the race. And when the other ones are so far ahead of you, you can lose hope and just give up and not want to run anymore. So he had to understand all of those things, and that's why as he emerged out of that, he was able to address all of those things that he had experienced with a type of sincerity and legitimacy that you don't find in a theoretician.
This is true. Muslims believe in the God that created the universe, and I think the Christians do, and the Jews do. Now, as long as all of them are talking about the Creator, the Jews may call him Jehovah, and Christians may have another name for him. Those who are Arabic speaking refer to him as Allah. Well, we believe in the same God.